seem to be going in the closet while the other ones come out of the closet. It's a good thing to know that God has ordered you, because it gives you stability in an unstable society. But before we get to you, Pastor, I thought we'd back up and deal with Isaiah. You see, God ordered you, Pastor, before Adam and Eve ever showed up. The Bible says that the foundations of the earth were established by God. But God, Ephesians told us, had you on his mind while he was yet planning to make the earth and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. You see, God, while he was planning out how, wisdom, who was before him, for wisdom declared that I was daily his delight, rejoicing before him, before ever the world came into existence. That God had you on his mind while he was beholding wisdom in front of him. That's a good thing to know. That's a real good thing to know. Because I tell you, people can push you to the brink, but don't go over the brink. Why? Because God has ordered you. In other words, God looked at everything and realized that Northeast Baptist Church that acts holiness was going to need a pastor. And realizing that, God said, I've got to get Wesley Elam. I've got to get him. But remember, the foundations of the earth have not yet been formed. Remember, there is no sea. There is no firmament. There is nothing but God and wisdom. Isaiah asked the question, who counsels God? Can you imagine that? Who in the world is going to counsel God? We go to God for counsel, but God don't come to us for counsel. Why? Because you don't go to a finite when you are infinite. Let me bother this for a minute. The Bible tells us that before God did anything, wisdom rejoiced before him. The book of Proverbs says daily wisdom was his delight. God helped me to seek wisdom so that I'll know what to do. Stephen Covey writes a book, and it's called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the principles he teaches is you begin with the end in mind. In other words, I want to know how I want to end up, and I want to start with that in mind. Well, God considers all things, all the failures and all the mistakes and all the misunderstandings and all of the mishurts and the things that God only knows in our hearts that have been put there by the devil, who tells us you're not going to make it. And we're having to fight against that adversary on a consistent basis. God does calculations. He tabulates, having known where your parents would come from and having understood who your parents would be. May I tell you something? Most of us don't know who our parents really are. Oh, we know mama and daddy, maybe. You know, mama's baby, daddy's maybe. You'll be there in a minute. But going backwards, you don't know who just slept with who. Now you believe what you want to believe, but you don't know. Y'all messing with me. Pastor, they messing with me. Let's back it up and look at it. The Bible tells us that while God was yet planning to bring the earth into existence, that your pastor was on his mind. Now the Bible tells us that the earth was going ahead and being formed. And it depends on your theory or your theology, and I'll cover both of them. There are some that says that the Bible says in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. So we know Logos, so we know that Christ was there in the beginning. But it's in Genesis 1:1 where it says in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. And then in verse 2 it says the earth was void and it was without form, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Now many Bible scholars will tell you that's what's called a gap between verse 1 and verse 2. They speculate, and I would agree that it's probably true, maybe, but it doesn't matter because we'll get there. It speculates that in God, when he created the heavens and the earth, everything was perfect as it ought to have been. But if you read Ezekiel and Isaiah, you will understand that there was Lucifer and the archangel, and he had this insane idea that he was going to ascend to his throne above God, and he was going to be like the Most High. And God had Michael the Cole bust him, and he got kicked out of heaven. I love God. He don't put up with stupid. See, if it's been us, we'd still be debating. We're the most debating people in the world. Debate nothing. You out of here. Debate that. Y'all think I'm kidding? The Bible says that at the end time, when Jesus Christ comes back, that the Antichrist and all his cohorts and students are going to be there. And the Bible says that he's going to speak a word and it's over. And he's my kind of captain. But short worker. We got to go to war? Hey, bang, now, next. See, y'all messing with me. The Bible tells us this, that while God is in creation, creating the earth, that the Bible says, according to the gap theory, that Lucifer fell, and when he fell, that it threw this earth into chaos. And that's why darkness was upon the face of the deep. And that's why it was a mess to look at. And then they tell us that when you continue to read, it is actually God bringing order back into what was disorder to start with. But isn't that just like God? Because he will take our lives, which we will go out and mess up on our own accord. You know, ain't got nothing else better to do. We go out and mess, I'm sorry, y'all super holy. I went out and messed up my own life, having nothing else better to do. But it was God that would come back into your life and reorder your life according to the steps that he wants. For the steps of a righteous man are ordered of the Lord.